either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. I'm Nico.
And I'm Chris.
Chris, do the roar.
No.
We're back at it with Shrek.
Yep. This is our second installment of Shrek. We're going to be talking about the third, the fourth, and then, of course, all of the spin-offs.
All the extra shit that Shrek has become.
Yes. And maybe where Shrek is going in the future?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not off the table.
That we know of. Yeah, so... God, how do we begin?
Well, I think we should start with Shrek 3.
Shrek.
But first, we were racking our brains over what to have to drink with this episode. And I usually try and pull our drinks directly from the movie. So in Shrek 1, which arguably the best Shrek, there is a wonderful WWE-style brawl scene where Shrek cracks open a gigantic barrel, takes a mug, takes a swig of the delicious sweet beverage that is inside this giant keg. And so what wonderful beverage does Shrek chug right before he fights like 50 dudes?
Mud.
No, it's definitely a drink. Root beer.
Yes.
So I found us in this great time of need some fancy root beer.
Super fancy.
Super fancy. Comes in little glasses. I mean, it's not that fancy. It's standard root beer.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers to a kid-friendly beer.
For a not kid-friendly show.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. The essence of Shrek.
Oh, God. So, Shrek 3.
Shrek 3. So...
Arguably
the most adult-focused Shrek.
And kind of boring of the three. A
little bit, yeah. So in Shrek 3, we see a full recasting of the original voice actors.
Shrek the Third.
Shrek the Third, you're right, because Shrek 3 was its working title. And they changed it to Shrek the Third to give it a sense of self.
Yeah, if this tells you anything about the movie, I have the entire Shrek collection. Mm-hmm. And this is the only one that doesn't have, like, commentary or many special features about it, like, at all.
Yeah, there is stuff to talk about with this movie. But it's not the best Shrek movie.
No.
But if you took it outside of the Shrek universe, it's arguably not a bad kid's film.
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, we got to see all of our favorite voice actors come back.
Yep.
And then we also got to see the inclusion of Justin Timberlake as Arthur Pendragon.
Oh, yes.
Which arguably was one of the only reasons why Erica watched this movie with us.
Well, we also forced them only to watch the third and the fourth one.
we told them that we were having a research night for the podcast, and we promised them that it was a movie they had all seen before and that they all liked. But instead of watching the first two, we just watched the third and fourth one. And then, of course, my husband was late, so we had to watch the Halloween and Christmas special.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, the plot of Shrek 3, Shrek is a shit king, or he's having to be the king.
He's being forced to be the king because dear old Toad Dad from the first movie has finally croaked. Get it? And so here's the thing with Shrek 3 and just arguably Shrek's representation in also the second one, but it's more emphasized in the third one. Shrek is an ogre trying to rule a bunch of humans. Mm-hmm. And there is no effort by the humans being made to make Shrek and Fiona feel like comfortable ogres in their new palace. They are being forced to be people kings and queens.
Because they don't want ogre lords.
They don't want ogre lords. Yes.
There's more where that came from.
Oh yeah. But because Shrek is not being allowed his true ogre self, he feels very stifled, which, I get it. Mm-hmm. It, like, the plot isn't a bad plot, it's just a shallow plot, because then what does Shrek do? Well, he finds out from the croaking king that there is another guy, that there is, a cousin, I think?
Yeah, he's like a super distant cousin who's next in line.
He's next in line, who's, of course, King Arthur, but he's not a king, he's a high school brat. And so Shrek leaves to go get him so that he can be king. Mm-hmm. And so Shrek and Fiona can go back and live in their swamp. Which, honestly, is not a bad plan. They keep, throughout the entirety of the movie, keep trying to, like, hint at the fact that, like, maybe Shrek should step up to the plate and, like, fulfill his dead father-in-law's wishes to be king. But, you know, not saying that fairy tales are always right, but, you know, I feel like King Arthur would have maybe been a better overlord for these humans in Far, Far Away world.
And even then, I don't know. It's a weird mashup. Like, it doesn't... For me, with this movie, what got me was that Shrek, or... They have to go to another kingdom to find him, so...
he's been shipped off to boarding school, is pretty much what it sounds like.
Yeah, and it's medieval high school. All this time...
I will say, the high school part of this movie is arguably the worst part of this movie.
Yeah.
It's like an adult who had been bullied the entirety of high school wrote this part, and, like, so there's no, like, good part of this high school whatsoever. Literally everyone is an asshole, including the kids who are supposed to not be an asshole stereotypically.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. There's no polite teenager in this movie.
Yeah, this is just one of those weird movies because, one, we're getting a rehashing of a bunch of characters.
Yep.
Prince Charming's completely fallen out of grace. He's now stage performing his story.
I kind of like where they went with Prince Charming.
I do. Okay, I do like that part.
Prince Charming's story arc. I also like Fiona's story arc.
Yes.
And then, of course, our favorite characters, the background princesses. But honestly, they're not, like, they're not given enough story time like in the first two, where we had time developing these side characters and their stories. We just kind of briefly get to see all of the side characters in Shrek the Third.
And all those side villains.
And all the side villains. And the only one who truly gets any true character development is the queen, Fiona's mom. And even that's pretty minor.
Yeah.
We just learned that her mom's the buff one.
Yeah, she learned her fighting skills from her mother, not her father.
Her mother then proceeds to headbutt her way through a castle. It's very impressive.
Yes. And so, part of the other conundrum for this movie is... as Shrek's leaving, Fiona tells him she's pregnant.
Yes. A little awkward. Especially because I think someone did the timeline on this, and I can't find 100% proof. But fairly certain that this is like 8 months after they're married.
But they're ogres. They might have different gestation periods.
This is true. Good point. Hadn't thought of that.
Anyway.
It is a little awkward. Just... It felt a little bit like, oh, we have to tell him before he leaves. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean...
I feel like maybe we could have waited for him to get back.
Well,
then had this conversation.
I think her thought was he'd be ecstatic and, oh, I'm going to go there, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get back as fast as I can because I'm going to be a father soon.
Sure.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that Shrek somehow embodies all of the middle-aged dad characters from comedy TV in this movie. He's not excited about his job that he definitely can't quit, so he's going to go to crazy lengths to find someone else to do it for him. He's very much in love with his wife, but also not happy with where he's currently living and wishes he lived somewhere else, and also not ready to be a dad whatsoever, but then is fine with being a dad by the end of this. And honestly, there's nothing in this movie to make Shrek feel like he's ready to be a dad.
And I think part of that lies in the plot of Prince Charming. Or
Sure.
not Prince Charming, King Arthur. And I think, like, if they had done something a little bit more to make it feel like a father-son relationship.
Or even had some, like, more childish aspect. Because Arthur in this movie is a high school kid. We're not sure what grade in high school, which, you know, that does vary the high school age very much. But we can guess that he's probably like a sophomore. That's kind of the vibe we get with him. He's the picked on one.
So
it's kind of hard to say. But,
so they would rather have a high school dropout. Not saying that dropping out of high school is bad or anything, but
well, he's being forced to drop out of high school by Shrek.
Not even then.
He gets kidnapped.
He at the beginning, yes, but then he finds out, oh, cool, I'm gonna be king. Piss off.
Oh yeah, no, he does flip the entire school off and just leave.
Yeah, and the stupid, shitty high school speech, which, I mean, is awesome, making fun of high school teen drama movies.
No, the entire part of high school definitely was just blatantly, like, referencing all of the high school drama movies out there. Mean Girls coming to the top of my mind, where none of this is realistic high school whatsoever, but it's funny, so I guess.
Only spring break trip I took, they were playing Mean Girls in the park in Florida, and we got drunk and watched some of it.
You know, drunk is the best way to maybe watch that movie.
It was fun.
Yeah.
We're surprised we're still alive after that week.
I mean, I think most people are after spring break. Just for different reasons. And then the only other character... Well, we've got two other characters to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
One of whom I'm going to touch on real quick, because honestly, he could not have existed in this movie, and it wouldn't have mattered. Merlin. Merlin's a piece of shit, and that kind of makes me mad, because Merlin's usually one of my favorite characters. He doesn't do anything, he's just kind of a hippie, and it's kind of making fun of hippies, and that's kind of all he is. And, like, yeah, he's funny sometimes. Yeah, he's got some cool magic tricks occasionally, but in a world where witches are everywhere, where ogres are bountiful, and tonky donkeys are the norm, Merlin seems useless.
Yeah, I mean, he's just
kind of an old weed head hanging out in the forest.
And I think that's my biggest complaint is that I think that's one of the big things that differentiates the first two Shrek movies between the rest of them.
Yeah.
Is the world expansion.
Yeah, okay.
Because the first one, we learn about everything. This is a world where every single fairy tale you could have ever wanted is there. Second one, it's like, okay, cool, we've gone on to the American fairy tale, Hollywood.
Yeah.
And we've kind of modernized it.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've just kind of gone back to a more archaic Arthurian story.
I could see how introducing King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table in like a Monty Python sort of way could have been hilarious.
Yeah.
And speaking of Monty Python real quick, so, you remember the scene at the beginning where Prince Charming's on the stage doing his own thing?
Yes.
And they've got Donkey in the background, and Donkey's being played by a guy in a horse costume with a pair of coconuts clopping around on stage?
Yes.
So, one of the guys who was originally in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, what was his name? I think his last name's Idle?
I don't know their names, sadly.
I don't either. I just know which one plays who. But he originally saw it and was kind of offended that they took his joke. And so he considered suing, but I think they talked him down and explained, like, no, we did it on purpose because we thought you were funny.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole point of this movie. But maybe they could have leaned heavier into the Monty Python version, like the whole joke of Holy Grail and like it being its own world and having a bunch of characters. Instead, they only bring out two characters who, honestly, we have King Arthur for the whole movie by necessity, and Merlin's just kind of there. He's not overpowered enough to be Merlin from the original stories, but he's also not distinct enough. Like, example, Puss in Boots is just a talking animal, but he's elevated because he's the Zorro talking animal. Yeah. You know, Donkey's just a talking donkey. He doesn't do anything extra, but he's the funny side. But he's an ass. Yeah. Merlin could have been something more, but he just kind of turned into the hippie guy who didn't even play off of any of the hippie tropes other than just being trippy. Yeah. Which, so Merlin, I don't have a lot to say about him.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's the big thing with it, is that they didn't build off of that. Yeah. I mean, it's speculative just because, I mean, I prefer reviewing the movie for what it is, but sure. Like, if they had done something like Shrek has to help Arthur become not necessarily the cool guy, but more popular.
Mm-hmm.
And then they find out all the shit's happening. And then all of, like, Arthur's thing. Like, that'd be more of, like, a mentor role. Shrek can find out he's actually a father rather than this weird kidnap
It was a
chase movie.
Weird kidnap chase movie. My other gripe is the Arthur and Shrek relationship, I think, was supposed to show Shrek learning how to be a father figure.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think there's a huge difference between being good with handling random teenagers found at a random high school and handling small children that are your own.
Yes.
I think there's a difference. I mean, maybe there's not. I don't know. But I like to think there's a difference between a random high school kid who you can, like, be a bro with and your own small future children.
It's like, I'm in the middle of watching Orphan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Adopting a 30-year-old woman who you thought was a toddler, or...
Thought was a child.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
God, the movie's shit so far.
I'm sorry.
I knew it was going to be going into it.
I'm watching a Miss Marple film. It's fantastic. It's very quaint. Much murder. But... So, I see why he has to be a high school kid.
Mm-hmm.
Any younger, and it would have been like a weird child king sort of situation. But at the same time, I kind of would have preferred that, like, hey, the story could have gone with something more like, oh no, I do want Arthur to be the future king of this place, but he's too little right now. Can you go get him and bring him here, and while he's growing up, you guys are in charge while he gets older, and then that's our bonding experience, and we get better with little kids. And
yeah.
There's another cute, but, like, I get it. It would have made a lot more plot holes, and it wouldn't have been the same story.
Yeah.
So I get why. I don't like it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is, but then we get to arguably the best character in this entire movie. Rumpelstiltskin.
Is he in the third one?
I think, is he in the third? Or is he just in the fourth one? No, he's only in the fourth one.
No, yeah. I think he is in the third one just a little bit. Like, they like peppered him in somewhere, I think.
Oh yeah, nope. There he is. Because that's who he's... Okay. What does he do? Don't remember at the moment.
From what I remember, he's barely
in
in it.
However, I like that he's in it at all, because he's the main guy for the fourth one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, instead of having to completely, every time we have a death of a bad guy, so we've already killed off our short bad guy, Farquaad.
Yep.
We killed off the fairy godmother.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that we've kept Prince Charming, but honestly, there's no way to write Prince Charming as an accurate villain, because he's kind of dumb. And that's kind of his whole thing. He's a mama's boy. He's always just done what he's told. Yeah, he's power hungry. Yes, he's definitely evil. Not a good self-sustaining bad guy.
Yeah.
Great sidekick. Bad guy.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's... Arguably, the fourth one is the black sheep of the franchise, but this one is just...
It's just there.
It's kind of a letdown.
It is. I will say that unlike some of these sequels that definitely could have completely been erased from time and space and no one would have cared or known,
mm-hmm.
I do think Shrek the Third has its place. Because I distinctly remember having some cousins who really liked this movie.
Yeah.
As kids. They thought it was funny. It was it came out at the right time for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it does, in the side characters, what little bit we do get of them, their changes and emotional growth does tie into the fourth one.
Mm-hmm.
And in an important way. Like, we do see that Fiona is excited to be a mom. She's very ready. She's having a baby shower with her weird friends, who arguably only Doris is her friend.
Yeah.
Doris is the only real friend there, but you know what? She's doing the best she can in Hollywood.
I mean, that's how you gotta live.
We learn that her mom is actually a really cool character and actually
mm-hmm.
has more of... is less of just like the caring queen mom figure and actually has some badassery, which explains Fiona.
Mm-hmm.
We learn a little bit more about Puss in Boots. We learn a little bit more about Donkey and his relationship.
We learn that Puss in Boots is a man whore.
Yes, he is. I mean, okay, you never watched the Netflix Puss in Boots that we will talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah.
You missed that one, right?
Yeah, that's one of the ones I didn't get to. I mean, I just mainly watched the movies and then those couple little spin-offs, and that's where I left it.
No, I think that's fair. I think you've been very upset about Puss in Boots as it is a choose-your-own-adventure movie.
Yeah, you've brought it up a few times.
But yeah, no, while it's definitely hammed up in the third one, him being a womanizer is part of his standard character development, and they don't lose it.
Yeah.
So, like, the side characters, and, like, we do learn more about Doris, my favorite princess.
Voiced by Larry King.
Yeah, voiced by Larry King. We, like, other than just being a cool background character, we actually do learn a little bit about her.
That she was never a bad person. It was just a job for her to work at the Poison Apple.
It was just a job. We do get to see a little bit more of the bad guys at the Poison Apple. They're given their woe is me moment, which is cute. I like it. It's
the Wreck-It Ralph group therapy session.
Yeah, thanks, Satan. But Shrek in this movie is just kind of whatever.
Yeah.
However...
okay, I'm gonna go back to Shrek for a little bit, because we've kind of shit on his storyline. He has a pretty... I do like his arc a bit.
Okay, sure.
Because we learn partway through the movie that he's not necessarily afraid of being a father. He's afraid of being like his father.
Sure. Which,
if you don't know from the musical...
Which, I mean, let's be real, how many of you actually watched the musical?
Oh, God. Anywho, I guess the ogre way is to kick a child out of the house when he's like 8.
You know...
He can't even get a Pokemon yet.
You can't even get a Pokemon. Yeah, and so, especially since the way Shrek 1 through 3, specifically, are written, it does feel like Shrek is trying to change his ogre culture to be more kind and caring to match Fiona's upbringing and raising.
Yeah. Which
is cute and sweet. It doesn't talk about it a whole lot. This is kind of the one little bit that we get of that, other than the musical.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shrek 4 kind of just chucks that right out the window. But for different reasons.
Yes.
And we'll get to that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, with the third one, it just, I don't know, it feels like it falls a bit flat. Like,
it does. However, with that said, this movie was the 4th highest grossing film of 2007. That's the same year that Harry Potter 5, Juno, Sweeney Todd, I Am Legend, just to name a few. Those all came out that year too. This one was 4th highest grossing.
Wow.
Yeah. I was surprised at that, but now that I think about it, I'm not surprised, because at this point, Shrek has proven itself to be a good sequel. Shrek 2 was great, everyone loved it, arguably spent more money going and seeing it and playing video games on it than the first one. They advertised the shit out of this movie. Like, a lot.
And see, I know I went and saw Shrek 3 or Shrek the Third in theaters.
A lot of people did.
Well, I saw it in theaters because we were living in Italy. Yes. We didn't have commercials or trailers.
Mm-hmm.
This is back in ye old day of YouTube, where there was no advertisements and I could find almost whatever I wanted to on YouTube.
It was a Wild West show back then. I miss it.
I do too. But yeah, we went and saw it in theaters, and that was the last Shrek movie we saw like that, because it was like, why did we go see this? Like, it was one of those ones where it's like, because we didn't have trailers, we just went and saw it because of name alone. Oh, we have a Saturday off, let's go do something.
And in America, which this usually is how Americans go see things, it was heavily advertised. There was games released before the movie came out. So, you've played the game, you gotta go watch the movie.
So many.
And then on top of that, it was released in 3D, which 2007 3D, that's pretty big deal. It was still a cool gimmick back in 2007.
Yeah. God, I'm so glad that fad is dying.
Yeah, I think specific movies, it works great. But back in the day, it was a cool new thing, and especially for kids' movies, it was kind of a way to, like, spice up a children's film and get them to a box office as opposed to waiting for DVD.
Yeah, the last Star Wars was in 3D and it was awful.
Yeah, I've never been much of a 3D person, but occasionally I like it.
It's gotten better, speaking from someone who gets motion sickness easily. Because I remember when I first saw it with, I think probably Alice in Wonderland. Like, I couldn't really watch the movie with the glasses either.
Yeah.
But I will say, with seeing Star Wars, it's a lot better. I didn't get motion sickness. I still think it's schlocky and...
Yeah. Well, with all that said, yeah, it was the 4th highest grossing film in 2007. But it grossed $38 million on its opening day.
Jeez.
Which, at the time, that was the biggest opening day for an animated film.
Yeah, and I mean, it made more than the first movie, less than the second one, but still more than the very first one.
Yeah, and then on top of that, it was nominated for Best Animated Film at the British Academy Film Awards.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, as bad of a movie as we now reflecting back on looking at it and all that, it is a good-looking film.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong there. I mean, the animation just keeps getting... That's the thing. The animation, for the most part in these movies, keeps getting better and better.
Which is, for those of you like me who love a good old animated sequel, is a very rare thing. Normally, the animation budget, even for a beloved sequel, like example, Aladdin's Jafar sequel, usually the animation budget goes down. Usually there's not as much hype. And usually by the third one, your budget's like 2 cents and a stick of gum.
Well, and I think we're at a different point in time, too, where animation, still expensive, is arguably becoming cheaper.
Oh, sure.
Like, it's cheaper to animate... Like, we've seen it in anime, that they've gone to adding CGI to specific scenes on stuff that arguably would be hard to animate in a more traditional manner.
I'm seeing them animate entire animes now, as opposed to hand drawing them. They're just all computer generated.
Almost every Netflix
all
original.
of the Netflix ones are, yeah. And which is true. However, with that said, especially now, especially with the Netflix adaptations, a lot of us are used to seeing a bad CGI quick thrown together. Yeah, it's not the worst thing we've ever seen, but it's no Ghibli film.
Yeah, exactly.
This one, on the other hand, despite the fact that, we did have new characters, which means new character models, it still looked really good. And there's crowd scenes where instead of just plopping down a bunch of, like, filler anime stereotypical person crowd, it's all individual. And it's really impressive looking. No,
and that's the thing that I feel, even at this time, animation was at a point where they were really starting to add more cinematic effects to it. Like, a
lot more camera work than we had seen, yeah.
And I think that's, arguably, that is where this movie still shines.
Oh, sure.
Just plot-wise, it falls flat. It's a means to an end kind of thing.
It is.
It kind of makes me think of, the last 2 movies really make me think of the Meet the Parent franchise. Because I haven't seen the third one, and I heard the third one is garbage. So here's my thoughts on this. First, Meet the Parents. Solid movie.
Classic.
Not so much related to Shrek, but it's the second and third one. It's Meet the Fockers.
Yep.
Shrek has to meet her parents.
Yep.
And then Little Fockers. This one is all about the children.
It is, in a roundabout sort of way.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that.
It's not super connected, but like partway through, I'm like, it's following the arc of first one great, second one, third one, yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good stuff about this one, especially just the female roles in general, I feel were the strongest in this one.
Yeah, no, the side characters. So much better.
I mean...
The entire group of princesses, while I still hate them, I hate them all less now. Yeah,
because I like the point where they're like, assume the position, falling asleep...
Fainting, running around, looking for things to just kind of fan yourself with.
Waiting to be rescued by their Prince Charming.
But not the queen. Girl can take out an entire castle with her face.
Nope. And then then that's like when they're like, okay, we need to do this ourselves.
Yes.
And it's the women taking charge, while Shrek is still not doing a whole lot.
He really doesn't do a whole lot for the whole film. But you know what? I'm okay with it, because And here's the entire reason why I'm okay with Shrek 3. Because while Shrek's storyline, which is honestly the one we care about the most, he doesn't do a lot. But by the end of the movie, he hasn't, once again, changed so much that he's a different Shrek.
No.
As with the first two, which I think is the, like, shining peak of Shrekdom and movie telling. Shrek is still nervous about being a dad. He's just not paranoid. He still doesn't know what he's doing. He still doesn't have... He's not, like, jumping for joy. But he now recognizes that there's other ways to handle the situation.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be like his father.
He doesn't have to be like his father. And at the same time, he doesn't have to be the superhero dad that the audience expects him to be at the end.
Exactly.
He's still Shrek. He still has all his same worries and anxieties. He's not suddenly been cured of them or ridded of them. He just has better tools to handle them. Which honestly is the best part of all the Shreks.
Yeah.
He never actually changes. He never really learns anything.
He learns enough.
Just enough.
Which, I mean, I think that's kind of a great message too, is be true to yourself. But if new information is provided to you, you can change little increments at a time.
Yeah, you don't have to have a life sudden glow up to be a better you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, on this one, falling short.
Now we get to Shrek 4.
Which takes a drastically different turn.
Oh, does it ever? But you know what? There's a lot of people who think this is the best one.
I can see it in some ways.
Yeah. There's a lot of people, when I was researching this, who legitimately think that Shrek Forever After is the best Shrek movie. And I get it. I don't agree with them, but I get it.
Yeah, and on this one, I finally got commentary, so I actually have more background knowledge on it, because there really isn't that much on Shrek 3.
No, there's not.
But
it sets up Shrek 4 pretty nicely, because now we're not just suddenly given children in the first minute of the film. We knew they were coming. They are not what I wanted. But are they ever?
They're potatoes.
They are potato children. One of them is significantly cuter than the rest of them.
No, I know what they look like. They look like the Slovene from Doctor Who.
You're right, they do.
God damn it.
Oh, that is exactly what they look like. Oh no, that can never be unseen.
So, anywho, my commentary for Shrek 4 came from Mike Mitchell, the director, Walt Dorn, the head of story, Gina Shea, one of the producers, and Teresa Chang, another producer.
Okay.
My pen died and I didn't fill it in, so I'm guessing that's what it was. So, and this one's an interesting one too, because that's another thing. The first two movies and this one start off with a storybook, whereas the other one starts off as a stage play, as the third one does. Yeah.
I think the first two needed the storybook. I don't think the third one needed the storybook. Even if it had been a good story. I don't think it needed the storybook. I think the fourth one could have started differently, though.
Okay.
I would have been okay with if it had started with a contract instead of a storybook.
That would have been interesting. Like the pictures pop up as like the contract's writing out or something. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
But I also see why they picked a storybook again, because this one kind of, the second one and the third one are more Hollywood themed than the first one is. Yeah. And even though the third one, we do try and go back to ye old times, all the side characters are still in far, far away land Hollywood. And so it never really loses its Hollywood-esqueness. The fourth one, we are straight back into fairy tale world, and we are in deep.
Yeah, well, and even then, like...
Do we lose our far, far awayness? No, because we get to see the king and queen flashbacky a good number of times. Yeah. And you cannot far, far away that king.
No.
The man is meant for Hollywood at all times.
Yeah, and I mean, they go to... so, the plot of this one... Yes.
Much more interesting.
Yes, definitely more interesting. Before Fiona was cured... right before she was cured. Yes. Her parents were going to Rumpelstiltskin to sign a magical contract to free her of the curse. Yes. And
at any price.
Yeah, at any price. And so they find out that she's free of the castle and she's on her way home.
So they stop signing it, which ends the contract.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so Rumpelstiltskin is out for revenge. He's trying to take Shrek down. Yes.
And so the little character that we saw in the third one is now the main villain, and he is arguably my favorite villain.
I do enjoy him because he's weaselly.
He's weaselly. He has wigs. And on top of all that...
How do you track who he is with the hair changes?
Well, mostly because he only has 2 wigs. And one's just a taller version of the other one.
Yeah. And also cartoons are more...
It's a lot easier to tell because he's also now the only short character because we've killed Farquaad.
Yeah, short human.
She's only short human left.
Well, and even then, so... In the beginning, I like the beginning kind of too because we find out that there's like this grittier side to the land.
Yes.
That
there's like a ghetto-ish portion.
It's a trailer park filled with goths.
It is a trailer park filled with goths.
Goth witches and one vampire.
There's like one vampire.
And Rumpelstiltskin, who has like this magical egg-shaped
He has a
carriage.
He does. He has kind of a Russian egg carriage. Mm-hmm. It is very elaborate. I also like Rumpelstiltskin as the bad guy because we're back to having traditional fairy tales. And while I liked Fairy Godmother as a bad guy, she was a fun interpretation of Fairy Godmother. Mm-hmm. Whereas Rumpelstiltskin is just Rumpelstiltskin. We have not changed anything about him from his old-timey fairy tale-ness. The only thing we've done is instead of just making riddles for people to try and solve, shitty riddles, mind you, now he makes shitty contracts, which arguably kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Well, in the original story tales, he's doing verbal contracts, too.
Yeah, which, I mean, back in the day when no one can read and write, it makes more sense.
Yeah. And arguably, I think that's one thing that really sets this one apart from the third one, is the third one just takes elements from a story tale, doesn't have any real relation to it.
Yeah.
But this one takes it and does a little twist to it. Like, it still keeps the classic. Mm-hmm, with the Arthurian one, he never gets a sword.
Nope.
There's no Lady of the Water.
Nope.
There's
no round table, even.
No, all the Arthurian cast is gone besides Arthur and Merlin, and then what's the point?
And let's be real, Merlin's barely in this movie.
Yeah. Or in the third one.
Or in the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas Rumpelstiltskin, and unlike Farquaad, who is also a good bad guy, but in a different way, Rumpelstiltskin knows what he wants, is smart enough to do what he wants, and almost wins.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that in a kid's bad guy, because most kids' bad guys kind of win, but they leave the giant plot hole open and obviously, run in by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah.
Whereas Rumpelstiltskin only doesn't win because of a weird fluke.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes me think of, personally for me, the Final Fantasy franchise.
Sure.
Where almost all of them, the hero saves the day at the very end, very classic story. But in the sixth one, the mad jester Kefka destroys the world, basically. Leaves it in ruins.
Yes.
And that's the first half of the game. The next half is getting to him, and it's like, the world's completely different at that point.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like this, too. Yeah, it's kind of like that, too, because he does win. He technically does.
He does technically win.
Because we also find out Shrek's having issues again.
Yeah.
He's settled into everyday, day-to-day parenting, and he is bored.
He's bored with his routine, and on top of that, instead of, trying to break his routine himself, he's just kind of letting the routine happen at him.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, he's got his kids, and then Donkey has donkey kids, which, oh no. But, it's kind of implied that Shrek has not only gotten into a routine, but he's taken on more than he can chew.
No, I wouldn't even say that.
He's packed his schedule.
He's become part of Hollywood at this point.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, there's a tour bus.
There is a tour bus.
And they're like, oh, and over here you'll see ogre or Shrek. I forget what they call
remember.
him. But they're like, oh, ooh, ah, taking pictures. And then he's having a birthday. A bunch of people from the kingdom are there.
Yeah, it definitely feels like at the end of the third Shrek, we were kind of hoping that Shrek would, since he's the hero, kind of get a break and get to go back to his house swamp and, live happily ever after with Fiona and now the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of do, but now the swamp is also part of Hollywood.
Yeah, well, I mean, he does get his happily ever after. And that's the thing is he's bored with his ever after.
Yeah, he kind of misses being the adventure-packed ogre that he was before he got married. Which...
it sounds like a stereotypical, like, middle-aged man who never left his hometown and is trying to relive like his high school glory days, or even college. I would say more so his college glory days.
Yeah, he misses being scary, which honestly I kind of like that they let him miss being scary.
Yeah, because now his roars become
like a cool thing.
Yeah, like do the roar.
Yeah, which that kid, oh my god. But yeah, so he's not scary anymore. No one runs from him. He's not feared. He's just kind of a thing in a zoo to look at. And I get it. Like, I mean, not personally. I have never been a scary ogre. But, like, I can see why he would kind of miss the good old days where he was a proper ogre.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's changed his life for Fiona, obviously. But he gave up a lot.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing, too, is I feel more so... him giving up is very minimal in compared to what Fiona's done for him.
Oh, yeah, no.
Like,
they briefly brush on the fact that Fiona, while definitely enjoying being a mom and being married and having a good time, like, they definitely don't undermine the fact that she has also given up a lot of stuff to be a mom and to live in the swamp away from her parents, or now parent, because one of her parents is dead.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, that's kind of sad. I don't know. We don't talk about that a lot in the movies, but... Well,
that was one thing that they brought up in the commentary is they got to kill the king twice.
They did get to kill the king twice. That's kind of funny.
Because, okay, so that's the thing. So, jumping ahead a little bit, Stiltskin gets Shrek to sign a contract.
So that he can have one day of freedom.
Yes.
Good old glory day free.
One day. And in doing so... what he did is the king and queen signed the contract to begin with.
Yes. So when Shrek signs his contract, as with all magical contracts, as we all know from our magical lessons in school, that you can't just get something for nothing. Equal exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So to get a day, he has to give up a day. But Shrek doesn't specify what day. He's kind of led to believe that it's probably going to be a day from when he was a baby. And he won't even remember it, and it's not a big deal.
Or when he was a strapping young ogre.
Yeah, he sells it pretty hard to him. But he doesn't actually ever agree to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not written down anywhere. At no point do they, shake on the day on day X, Y, Z. No.
Yeah.
He just says, sure, that sounds good. Which is part of the loophole of this contract. So he takes the day where he met Fiona. Which means the king and queen... Fiona never got rescued, so why wouldn't the king and queen then have signed away to get their daughter? Because
Charming wasn't there till a bit. This is probably even still before the godmother portion. That's a weird loophole.
It's not super well explained, but then again, timeline business, would one have existed without the other?
Yeah.
But for the rest of the movie, you don't care.
Yeah, and so... a little bit backtracking back to Fiona.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the important things of the movie is that Shrek is being extremely selfish.
He is.
I mean, it's his birthday party. It's
his kid's birthday.
Is it? I thought it was his birthday party.
Is it? I was under the impression it was his kid's birthday party.
I'm pretty sure it was his. Well, I mean, my parents, we told our parents that for Mother's Day and Father's Day, wouldn't they like us to go to Chuck E. Cheese because they just love watching us play?
I'm sure I did some other bullshit the same.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure it was Shrek's birthday.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay, it makes a little bit more sense on why he lost his temper.
Yeah, because
it's his birthday at a Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, and there's just everyone around him. He's not himself anymore. He's down in the dumps.
And it's clearly not the birthday party he would have picked for himself. Which, honestly, that's the important part of a birthday party.
Yeah. And so, we get through this. Part of the big thing was, the kid with just kept bugging him, do the roar. Do the roar. And so he does lose it. And it is kind of you think everyone's supposed to be scared, but they're not. No,
because at this point, do the roar is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something to be scared of anymore.
Yeah.
And so, Fiona does try and get him to talk to her about what's going on, but at this point, Shrek's gone. He's going off to sign contracts.
Yeah, he's off to blow off steam. Rumpelstiltskin just happens to be there.
He does.
And Shrek gets his day. He wakes up.
He has what I would say looks like a pretty mediocre day to me. But you know what? It's Shrek to stay.
Yeah.
He spends most of the day popping out of bushes scaring people.
Terrorizing an entire village.
He does.
And then finds out that there's ogres are being hunted.
Yeah, they're not just feared like what he was used to.
Mm-hmm.
Which, in the first film, we're kind of led to believe that Shrek's kind of the only ogre around. There's nobody else, at least, living in the same area as him.
Yeah, and even then, Stiltskin has a private army.
Stiltskin does have a private... Not just any private army, though.
They all dress in black.
It's just witches. He has a private army of witches, and they all look exactly the same.
He's short.
Yes.
He's trying to eradicate an entire race.
Yes, no, they're... Yeah, I see.
We got another little Hitler on our hands.
Ah, dang it. I see where you're going here. The film does not make it quite that obvious.
No. God, I've this past week I've been home gorging on ramen and pickles, and I've been listening to conspiracy stuff, so my head's in a interesting spot right now.
But I could see how if someone out there really wanted to make a YouTube video, the connections could be made.
Oh God, I have a new theory I'm working on right now that
we'll get to it.
Well, it has nothing to do with the movie. That's
okay, fair.
Yeah. So, anywho, we find not only are the ogres being hunted, Fiona's like public enemy number one.
Yes, and I kind of like this because that was one of the questions I had always had throughout watching especially the first two. I didn't really care about the third one even when it came out. But the first one especially it always kind of seemed that like Shrek and Fiona were the only ogres. Granted, we're told that they're not. Ogres are a thing, just like all other fairy tale creatures.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not very many of them. Well, now there's a lot of them. There's a whole army's worth of ogres.
Yep.
And we also learned that maybe Shrek isn't the most ideal ogre. He's kind of short for an ogre. He's not very buff for an ogre.
No.
And he has a very weak chin compared to the rest of the ogres.
He's something very different.
He is a very different ogre compared to all the other ogres, which honestly kind of makes Shrek more endearing, because I think if they had gone with Shrek being like the best ogre, Shrek wouldn't have been Shrek anymore. He's still awkward. He still doesn't know how to read a room whatsoever. And even though he's surrounded by other ogres, he's not even the best ogre in the room.
I'm starting to think Shrek wasn't kicked out of his house just because he was 8.
I think Shrek might have been left in the woods somewhere as a child. And the whole getting kicked out of your house at the age of 8 was his parents' excuse for getting rid of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make much more sense. We also learned that Shrek's not even, like, a very good dresser for an ogre. Like, all the other ogres have quite elaborate outfits and beard dangly bits and just more ogre-iness to them. But I kind of like it because Shrek just is still Shrek.
Yeah.
Hanging out. It's very much like watching a movie, an action film, where, like, a middle-aged suburban dad wearing white tennis shoes and white, like, middle calf-sized socks goes back in time and then refuses to change.
Mm-hmm.
He's just in his lawn mowing shoes for the whole movie.
Yep.
It very much feels like that, and I kind of like it.
And we also find out that Fiona is still a badass regardless of whatever happened.
Which I appreciate because that's part of Fiona's personality. And it would have been very easy for them to have, like, worded the entire situation in such a way where, oh, Fiona originally learned to fight because she had to take care of herself in the first movie, and then in the fourth one, oh, well, she had to take care of herself again. But no, we learn in the third one that her mom's a badass, and Fiona has always been a badass.
Yeah.
And this is just who she is.
Yeah, we also find out she was never rescued, so we have a little bit of a play on the first one where she was hiding at night. Now she has to hide during the day.
Yes. Which I wish they would have played on more, but I get it. We've already been there. We've already done that. And honestly, this movie's a little crammed for time anyway.
Yes.
So.
And
okay.
One thing I definitely made a note for myself on it. Mm-hmm. When she struts in, I equated the human confident strut to a cat doing the "look at me, I'm a big kitty" walk.
Yeah.
It's very much so like, hey, I'm a badass.
It was a very good badass walk.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of kitties, we need to talk about Puss in Boots, who just morphed into your cat in this movie.
Yes. Well, also we learned Fiona's a cat lady.
She is a cat lady,
which
explains why Puss in Boots is even allowed to stay.
She becomes a single cat lady. Oh no, we did miss a portion of this. So Donkey is back.
Donkey is back.
Because Shrek immediately after scaring everyone and finding out that ogres are being hunted.
And gets arrested for it. / taken.
Gets, taken by the witches.
Yeah.
And Donkey is their mode of transportation and radio.
The fact that he's the radio, honestly, best use of Donkey on this planet.
And we find that Stiltskin now is the leader of the land.
Yep. He's specifically trying to make it a great place for witches to live, because I guess he has a thing for witches. It's not really explained.
I think they mentioned that he's a child of a witch.
That would make a lot of sense.
He's part of them. Like, he's not human, but he's not a goth witch either.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's part witch. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's why he has magical powers. He can't do the magic himself. He has to have someone
do the
magical contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes a lot more sense why we have an entire nation full of witches now.
Also, that scene with the witches in the club, 400 witches in the dance club.
There were, and they were all individually animated, which is mind-blowing because that dance club was lit.
They commented that if you could see each one of them moving by themselves, they all look hella stupid.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
But honestly, at any dance club, if you took away everything else, you would also look hella stupid.
Any dancing generally kind of looks stupid.
Yeah.
It's a weird concept.
It is a weird concept.
But anywho.
So we do meet Donkey, who continues to be
a jackass.
But also a pretty good comedic relief.
Yeah.
Because he gets to say all the lines that the audience is thinking.
Mm-hmm. Throughout
the whole movie, really. Which is kind of nice because it does give the movie a chance to address its own plot holes. Mm-hmm. Which, because Donkey is the dumbass, it works.
Dumbass.
Yes.
And so this is when Shrek ends up escaping and getting out to run into the other ogres through weird method.
He sets off an ogre trap / trap that laid by ogres.
No, Donkey does. Donkey's a dipshit.
That's right, Donkey.
There's a pile of waffles in the middle of the woods.
Fair.
Yeah.
He has been a radio for his whole life now, apparently. So
yes.
He doesn't really know better.
And so, we find out Fiona is a crazy cat lady.
We find out that Fiona... Does this mean that Donkey is a dog if Puss in Boots is a cat?
Their relationship are like cat and dog.
Yeah. Which means that Puss in Boots is Fiona's pet and Donkey is Shrek's pet.
Yeah. And the ogres love Donkey, too.
They do. They like Donkey, which, honestly, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, they made a joke that at the one part where they're all eating and, like, the food is disgusting, and Donkey puts the eyes through his nose.
Yes.
There was a running joke from the first movie that Donkey's his nose looked like where his eyes should be.
Yeah.
So they finally played off of that.
I like it. And granted, we are introduced to at least 2 other ogres throughout this whole thing. The only one that I remember his name is Cookie, and that's because every cook ever is named Cookie.
So the other one,
the buff one?
Nimrock. Or no, that Nimrock's not his name. Yeah, the big buff one. They originally wanted to name him Nimrock and have him be the initial love interest for Fiona for the plot line. Nimrock is charming backwards. His name is Brogan.
Brogan.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, but yeah, they were he was going to be more of a love interest. They tried it out a little bit and they're like, "No, it just doesn't work." Well,
and the other thing that I kind of like with this one is throughout this movie, we also learn that since Fiona had to rescue herself and escape by herself, she's not the innocent princess from the first movie that she was. It's implied that she has tried dating other people and she never found love. Mm-hmm.
Well, no, not that she tried dating. Charming never came and rescued her. Yes. And that was the big thing. So she never got rescued, and so she's never tried to find it.
Fair.
And Shrek is laying it on thick.
Yeah. This movie does give you room to pause and think about, if you have a significant other, what you should do if ever you need to go back in time and re-woo your spouse. Because Shrek does it terribly. Shrek has been married to Fiona in Shrek World, what seems like a good bit of a while. He should know his wife by now.
Yeah, babies are a little talky.
Babies are a little talky. We've now done 4 movies. This is for movie world, for movie marriages. Mm-hmm. This is a good bit of time.
Yeah.
We're not at the old couple stage, but we're in that in between where you should know what her favorite food is. You should know what her favorite chocolate is. You should know what her favorite pastimes are. And what if you were a new introductional date, what topics would you talk about with her?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is he tries doing that. The stuff his wife would love.
He does the things that Puss in Boots recommends that he does. Mm. Shrek hadn't really thought about Fiona in a while.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the whole point of the movie, was Shrek started off doing this as a very selfish act, and through more and more selfish acts, he learns about his wife.
Yeah.
Which is cute. I like the concept. Because, yeah, he does try all of the things that Puss in Boots recommends, and then the only thing they actually connect over is something that Shrek actually knows about his wife. The fact that she's a badass and likes to fight.
Yep.
Which, cute. I like it. It's a good little message about how you shouldn't just rely on your friends to help you find your date. Try it your own way. It might be a little weird. You might get clobbered over the head with a giant tree, but it's fun.
Yeah. So at this point, we find out that Rumpelstiltskin is bringing in a special weapon. He has recruited
an assassin,
the Pied Piper,
which I like this character.
I do too. So a couple little bits here. This movie came out in 2010?
2010.
I did not realize how early K-pop got into the U.S.
Oh, it's been here a while.
Yeah, because when he makes the witches dance, inspired by a K-pop breakdance group.
Yep. Yeah, which, fair. Good breakdancing.
Yeah. And so...
very choreographed.
Also, at the same time, the ogres are planning to attack what they think is Rumpelstiltskin.
Yes. They've gone full medieval war film mode here, where, we've got our map laid out, we got little figures, we're pushing them around with sticks, war room style. The only other character that I guess is technically in this movie but doesn't matter is Gingy.
I love Gingy in this one.
Gingy, so if everyone else has gone back to Free Scotland era-esque fighting, Gingy's gone back to the gladiator era and is full on fighting ginger animals.
Oh, it's so cute.
It's very cute, but also, while it's implied that, all of these people, with the exception of Puss in Boots, who is now so fat he cannot even lick himself, everyone else is, a good fighter. Gingy's portrayed as just straight up bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
Gingy's in it for death. Not vengeance, not freedom, death.
Gingy wants to see the gore.
Gingy's here to watch the world burn, and he's gonna light the match. And I kind of like it because we had grown used to having a lot of side characters to keep track of, and that was kind of the fun of Shrek.
Mm-hmm.
And since we went back in time, we lost most of our side characters.
Yeah.
Puss in Boots is still here, but arguably not really, because he no longer can Puss in Boots his way around.
He's too fat.
He is too fat. Like, he's still in it. We do get some, back and forth with him and Donkey, but not as much. Donkey, again, in the movie, but Donkey doesn't know who Shrek is.
Yeah.
And so he spends a lot of time trying not to be with Shrek, because that's scary.
Well, in the beginning. And then once they get out of the castle, he realizes, oh, he's not such a bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's still Donkey. He's not the brightest.
Yeah.
So we lose all of our other fun side characters, like Pinocchio, and we don't even get Dragon for most of this movie.
No, and I mean, we do have some fun ones, too.
Yeah, no, we get new fun side characters, but you were kind of used to checking in on your favorite side character.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was nice that Gingy's in here, even though he literally has nothing to do with the plot whatsoever and could have been left out. The fact that he was in there for you to go, oh, Gingy, oh no, what's wrong?
Yeah.
It was a nice little touch.
Yep. And so, the whole Pied Piper thing I thought was interesting too, because that's another thing they do is they take something traditional and they expand upon it. He makes a flick of, he changes a dial and he can control different things. He
has a very Ron Swanson-esque flute that could have probably thrown fire if he wanted it to. Is it Ron Swanson?
No, you're thinking of Ron Burgundy.
Ron Burgundy.
Yeah, I was trying to think for a second. I'm not the right Ron.
Other Ron. The other Ron.
Yes.
And so his flute is portrayed as being able to have multiple dials that then control different things. So obviously he's the Pied Piper. Rats are the first choice. Children the second obvious one from the fairy tale. But now he also controls things like witches and ogres.
And he can pull up Rumpelstiltskin's socks.
He can pull up Rumpelstiltskin's socks. I don't know why that's an option, but he can do it.
Yep. So...
But I think my favorite part about him is... And this is one of the things that I have a complaint with the other ogres, with the exception of Fiona, who's already an established character, so... The other ogres feel a little flat. They feel a little stereotypical. Like, we've got a jock one who's clearly, second in command. He's not the boyfriend, but he's the good general friend.
He's the meathead.
We get the fun, caring cook who's really here to set up a taco stand and take care of everyone. A little bit flamboyant. It's very stereotypical. His name's even Cookie, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
But the Pied Piper doesn't talk.
Nope.
He just plays the flute very aggressively. And he's an assassin.
Yes.
Why?
Hey,
because he is.
Why has Rumpelstiltskin got a magical growing goose?
Oh, I forgot about the goose.
Fifi.
Fifi the goose is terrifying. Fifi starts off goose-sized, and then throughout the whole movie, you just kind of think to yourself, is Fifi getting bigger? And you're never really given confirmation that Fifi is getting bigger.
The commentary, I can confirm he is getting bigger.
Okay, good, because Fifi does get larger, but every time you see Fifi, you go, I thought Fifi was smaller than that.
Fifi goes from being able to fit in the cabin to she is the mode of transportation for his carriage.
Yeah. Fifi is terrifying, and I appreciate that they leaned into the fact that goose are terrifying.
Fun little bit. They pointed out in the commentary in the carriage home. Rumpelstiltskin's bed has a picture of Fifi. Oh,
is Fifi his girlfriend?
And there's a box of tissues up there too.
Oh, gross, guys.
Yes.
But I mean, this is Shrek. Let's be real here. We've seen Shrek's. We can confirm that Shrek sleeps naked. So like,
this is a movie where a dragon and a donkey have children,
and it's so awkward that the characters themselves question whether or not that was a good life choice.
Yeah.
One of Donkey's questions, once he gets around to accepting the fact that Shrek is from an alternate timeline / future. One of Donkey's questions, and arguably the best line in the whole movie, is, so do the dragon and I have kids? Are my kids cute or do they make people uncomfortable?
Yeah.
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 And the answer to that is yes. Both. Both simultaneously.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there's a really interesting part in this part, too, is that while the ogres are being taken away, Shrek and Fiona are staking it out, and Shrek reveals, hey, I know about your curse. Then they start dancing, but they get away because Donkey and Puss realize what's happening and cart them away.
Yes.
And so that's where we get brought into the castle again.
Yes.
And where we meet Dragon.
We do. We finally get to re-meet Dragon. And
well, Shrek shows up because he's going to free everyone.
Yeah, no, he's got something to prove.
Yeah, because Fiona does eventually get caught because they have their first kiss. That's right, there's this big argument. They have their first kiss.
And I kind of like this part because a lot of the times in children's story tales, it's implied that your first kiss is your true love kiss, even though most of the time you have known this other person for a grand total of 5 seconds.
Yes.
And it's just the fact that they are Prince Charming and rescuing you that means they've broken the curse. And all this part of the movie does is reinforce the entirety of the first movie, which they go on an entire journey together before they actually kiss and actually fall in love first.
Yep.
And so I appreciate that this part was even in there because they could have left it out. They could have, had an argument, she storms off, no kiss whatsoever.
Yeah.
But they left it in to prove that true love isn't just with a specific person. It's getting to know that person.
Yeah, and even then, it's not like the first kiss is
this magical experience.
Yeah.
No, yeah. That's not how it is for everyone. And so I liked that they left it in. Kids are not going to get it.
No.
But it means something to adults.
Yep. And so Shrek shows up, gets taken in. He knows he's going to die. Lets everyone else escape except for him and Fiona. They're not allowed to escape.
Yes.
And so they're very close to each other. And this is when the ogres take back.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, it's an interesting part. So ogres come crashing in from a chandelier.
Yep. The ogres were Trojan horse style. The ogres were the chandelier. They had Roman style shielded themselves together, but instead of just being a brick of shields and spears, they were just a shiny ball.
It's weird.
It's weird, but you know what? I kind of like it because they've already implied that ogres can do a lot more than Shrek comprehended that ogres could. So the fact that they can, hold themselves together into a shiny ball and be hung from the ceiling, sure.
Why not?
You know what? It's fine. I don't care.
Yeah. Battle ensues. They get everything away. They take it back. And then Shrek starts disappearing because the sun's coming up.
Yep. He's run out of time to beat the contract.
Yep. And it kind of harkens back to the original, like the very first movie a little bit too, because as the sun's setting, when Fiona's transforming, Shrek is also transforming, but in the opposite. Instead of the sun setting, the sun's rising.
Yeah, it's a good little visual metaphor.
And so, at this point, Fiona sees him for who he really is. She loves him, and that's where we get the loophole.
Yeah.
The weird little jump back to reality.
Yep.
Yeah. So, with that, I don't know. Shrek is back to being happy with who he is. He does the roar for everyone.
He does the roar, but I don't think. And again,
Butterpants. Fat kid's name is Butterpants.
Oh, that's right. And while Butterpants is drawn and voiced very much like how you expect a spoiled brat child to be voiced and drawn, you learn that he's not a total spoiled brat. He's a kid. He's being brat-y. But I appreciate that he goes, I love you, Daddy.
I love you, Daddy. Even though Daddy did nothing.
He was a bratty kid, but,
yeah,
kids will be bratty sometimes. So I like that he's not just, like, another bad guy. I will say, though, once again, true to Shrek form, Shrek only learned a minor lesson here. Shrek learned that he loves his wife, and he loves his kids, and that he doesn't want to get rid of them. Shrek did not learn how to deal with the daily grind, or with donkeys bursting in of his home, or the fact that his birthday party is not a very good birthday party.
Yeah,
He's only learned to appreciate what he has, which, granted, is a good message.
Mm-hmm.
It solves none of his problems.
Well, it makes him come to understand that he actually does love his life.
Yeah, no.
And the thing that I wrote down for myself is that Fiona and Shrek, the big message is back to the first one. They save each other from isolation.
Yeah.
They're both lonely. And maybe Shrek was feeling a little bit lonely, like trapped inside his own house.
Yeah, I agree. And so, again, I like that Shrek learned all of this. He learned a little lesson without truly learning any life skills or coping mechanisms or, fun therapy messages that he could apply to his daily life. Like, I don't know, maybe him and Fiona going on a date together by themselves.
Yeah.
Getting the kids a babysitter, telling Donkey that he has to knock before he comes in their house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does he learn any of that? No. But that's okay, because that's the theme of Shrek, is you don't need to learn the entirety of the answers to everything, you just need to learn one thing.
Yes.
And so he learns that he loves and appreciates his current life and family.
Yeah.
Which is cute. I like it.
And to harken back a little bit to the last episode, how I mentioned that for me, each one is about a different fear. The first one is about a fear of love.
Mm-hmm.
The second one's about fear of acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one very much is about...
Hi, Charlie.
Shush, Charlie. The third one is very much about kind of the fear of uncertainty, like that your life's changing. You're bringing something into existence.
Yeah.
And then the fourth one very much is about losing yourself.
Yeah.
Like Shrek misses his glory days, but he's realized life goes on, life changes, and he's changed for the better. And so arguably all four of these movies are about accepting the changes of life.
Yeah, they are. And I think that's part of the main reason why Shrek resonates so well with adults, is because all of the lessons that Shrek learns are simple enough for kids to appreciate and digest, but they are not so sugar-coated and candy blossomed that adults don't feel a connection with them.
They're not... I want to say they're definitely different from Disney's approach to movies.
Yes.
Where Disney is very much so, it's for the kids. There is a good lesson in it. But for the most part, I mean, it's there.
And when Disney wraps up a movie, the whole of the problem is taken care of. The war in China is over and Mulan is home with boyfriend and grandma happens to love him. Or, the Beast is now a beautiful prince, and the entire castle is fixed, and the entire village are not scared of them because they're long-lost relatives and family members. Shrek doesn't end that way in any of its movies.
No.
Each time it ends, we've concluded the problem at hand, but we've not solved the overarching problem. We've not changed what's currently happening. The world is still moving forward. The same scary thing that Shrek was facing the first half of the movie, it's still coming or still happening. He's just changed his point of view on it.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason why this series has been arguably more successful, even though the last two in the series aren't super solid, I would say.
Agreed.
However, that it's incremental changes. It's not like Disney where Frozen 2 has like this big conclusion.
Sure.
And then it's like what goes from, or Frozen 1, I haven't seen Frozen 2 yet. But that big conclusion at the end, or like Brave, where Brave
it's done.
Has an end.
Could they make a sequel? Sure, it'd be the same characters, but it would not be a continuation of the first story. Yeah.
Whereas this one, because it's such incremental changes, it's allowed for it's had more longevity, I would say.
Sure, and I think this is also just kind of a DreamWorks signature move, too. This is very much how DreamWorks has kind of taken its approach with a lot of its sequels. And I think this is why DreamWorks sequels are arguably better than Disney's. With all that said, though, this was the 5th highest grossing film of 2010.
This one was? Jesus.
That's the same year as Toy Story 3, Black Swan, Inception, How to Train Your Dragon 1, and, of course, Harry Potter 7, Part 1. So, you know...
Jeez.
While this movie wasn't great, should rephrase, not as great as the first one or two, people still loved it and still went and saw it quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, because I'd only been back in the States probably just a little over a year when this came out. What month did it say?
I don't remember.
Oh, never mind.
But it was originally called Shrek Goes Forth.
Shrek Goes Forth?
Yeah, like going forth into the world, and then they like heard themselves say that a bunch and went,
This is stupid.
This is a bad name.
Yeah. So Shrek.
Oh. Okay.
We've gone through the main 4 movies.
Yep.
Oh boy, what had Shrek became, or is still going. Jesus Christ, what? I mean, shit. There's a festival with Shrek every year in Milwaukee.
And so when Shrek 2 was released, the producers and everyone had said, yeah, we're gonna have another 3 Shreks. We're gonna go to 5. We're gonna have 5 total Shreks for sure, no doubt about it. Shrek 4 rolls around. They start writing it. And partway through the writing, they realize that the story they're coming up with is the last Shrek in this part of the story. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of just lean into it. They go with it. They really like the story they're coming up with. With that said, though, they never took the 5th Shrek off the tables. And in fact, DreamWorks has made a point to leave Shrek 5 as a possibility at all times. And the kind of current, through the grapevine I've been hearing, is that the 5th Shrek will be a prequel Shrek to understand how Shrek got to be in the swamp from the first movie.
Currently, it's scheduled for 2022.
Which...
It's already in the works.
Yep.
And from what I heard,
I've heard
the main trilogy, the main trios...
I heard the original voice casters are coming back. Yep. There's been... Yeah, so there are some things being whispered about Shrek 5. But with that said, we have 2 holiday specials that came out between Shrek 2 and 3 and then 3 and 4, I think.
Let's see. They all came... So that one came out way after. So we had Shrek the Halls, which came out in 2007.
Yep.
Scared Shrekless, which came out in 2010.
Yep.
And then DreamWorks Spooky Stories, which came out...
technically has Shrek in it.
It came out in 2012.
Yeah.
Which is way later than I thought it would come out. And
then we also had the movie Puss in Boots, which I've talked about before. I know you haven't seen it.
Yes.
And I think... So, we have seen the Halloween specials and the Shrek the Halls. And arguably...
Too many holiday specials.
There's arguably too many holiday specials, but I get it. You gotta make that money.
Gotta make that green.
But on top of that, the Halloween ones, even the one that's got other characters in it, the Halloween Spooktacular,
yeah,
which is 2 short stories from Shrek and then a short story from the Monsters movie. I can't remember.
Monsters vs. Aliens, I think?
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't know. I've never seen it.
It's the one with Bob the Blue Blob and the lady who's a giant.
Yeah.
But she's not in it because we don't care about her? I don't know. I don't know.
I have no clue.
It was a cute movie. Could have been better. But arguably, those movies actually do add stuff to the Shrek universe. Specifically to Shrek.
Yeah, I would definitely say between the two, because Shrek the Halls, he's learning how to be a father. He's never had a Christmas before.
He's never had a proper... He's always done bachelor Christmas. And so, Fiona wants a full Christmas. This is her first Christmas with the kids, which I think this is probably, from what I've heard from my friends who have children now, this is kind of a standard, growing pains of a new couple. You get kids, their first Christmas, you want it to be special, you try and pull out all the stops, even if they're not going to remember it.
Yeah.
And so Shrek is the, he's going along with it because Fiona wants him to. He's being a good sport as best he can. But Christmas is not his vibe.
No.
You know what is his vibe?
Halloween.
He fucking loves Halloween.
He's the king of screams.
He is. And on top of that, his children are good at Halloween too, even though they can barely walk.
Well, I mean, they're ogres.
They're
bound to be.
Yeah, and on top of that, for some reason, the Halloween one, we get more distinction amongst the children than originally, I think, intended, because he does refer to them all as individuals just as opposed to, like, hey, kids. Like, he talks about how, oh, this one did really good this year, or this one didn't quite get it this year, but that's okay, honey, you'll get it next time, and so-and-so's a feisty one, got his ankle.
Mean, angry babies.
Mean, angry babies. However, with that said, the Puss in Boots one, which I did watch when it was on Netflix, I don't think it is anymore. I think it's been removed. But
I have no clue.
I can't be certain. I did watch it. Shouldn't say watched. I played it because it is a click along. If any of you remember the old Goosebump ones where you flip the book to get to the ending you wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing, only movie style. It's very DVD-esque. You pick left or right, up and down, 1 through 3. I
have a Mario Choose Your Own Adventure book.
Yeah, similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did do, when it originally came out, I watched as much of it as I possibly could withstand. And the thing about it is, it's all from Puss in Boots' point of view, and it's all Puss in Boots reminiscing on Puss in Boots doing Puss in Bootsy things.
Okay.
So, while it does elaborate, to some extent, him and his story, it doesn't really have anything to do with anyone else. You're introduced to 3 little kittens who are lost their mittens,
mm-hmm.
and Puss in Boots kind of adopts them as like nephews, kind of Three Amigos style. And then you're also introduced to Kitty, I can't remember Kitty's last name, who's kind of his girlfriend, but she's also a swords person.
I just saw that for Thriller Night, they didn't get all the main voice actors.
Oh, really? Who got left out of the Thriller Night one?
All 3 of the main.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Scared Shrekless was not Eddie Murphy.
It wasn't?
To be fair, he's barely in it.
I mean, yeah, like, Donkey has, like, what, 2 lines? Okay. You know what? I will give them a pass, though, because, let's be real, the Halloween special, not the thing that you need to be spending your very hard-earned time for big-name actors, I don't think.
Yeah. No.
It's a straight-to-DVD sort of movie.
And it's not even a movie. It's a
bunch of shorts. It's for kids.
It's a TV show. Yeah, let's be real.
It would, and not even a TV show for like ABC. This is like a Disney TV show.
Ugh.
Like, Nickelodeon might have aired it, sort of TV show.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly what these were. These are like they're like Veggie Tales.
Yeah.
You put it in and have the kid entertained for like 30 minutes so you can go and do dishes.
Yeah, this would have been a good, like, gift for a young, like a middle school / late elementary school age kid who really liked Shrek.
Mm-hmm.
Stocking stuffer. They probably cost like $5.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I've had to pick up Shrek the Halls twice. One as a white elephant.
Yep.
And then I had to pick it up because someone sold it. I wonder who that was.
Yes.
To be fair, I don't blame you. We hadn't even decided on doing a Shrek by that point.
This is true. It was a good white elephant, though.
Yes.
But yeah, no, if you need a white elephant, these are good options.
Oh, yeah.
But that's kind of the weird thing is Shrek the Halls and the Halloween one, they're legitimate Shrek movies somehow. Despite being, maybe 15-20 minutes of content at best?
I do have one thing to say on that in just a second. I just had a great idea for a white elephant present.
Oh dear. What are you getting this year?
Pom Poko.
Ooh.
If we do it for work.
If you do it for work, Pom Poko, that's toeing the line, but I don't think HR could get you for it.
Most people don't know it.
Most people don't know it, and it's technically a kid's movie.
Technically, and in one of the local game store, or one of the movie stores, it's the only Studio Ghibli in that section. But yeah, no, I mean, they do add a lot to it. Like the Thriller Tales, we find out that Farquaad's ghost comes back.
Yeah, I mean, poorly animated, but yeah, he does come back. And
that Dragon's Fire can gank ghosts.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah. But I was also, so, I mean, that's one thing too, is that they add little bits.
They're not like essential to the Shrek lore, But the other thing that they do, that the movies kind of do, but not nearly as well as the shorts do, is they show off Shrek and Fiona home life and like them being parents and like what it's like for them on a daily basis. Shrek 4 showed a bad compilation of it, mostly because it's from Shrek's point of view. The shorts show how much Shrek and Fiona are enjoying being parents and how almost cute their weird potato babies are.
Ugh. But anywho, this series, Shrek, arguably I would say Shrek has had a bigger impact than I would even say Frozen.
Oh,
because
yes.
Frozen,
for sure.
Frozen has its little bit of merchandise.
I wouldn't say a little bit. Okay, it's got a shit ton of merchandise. But I would argue, though, that Shrek has more merchandise than Frozen did. And
video games. Shrek has so many. Because I had joked about when we started doing this that I was going to make your husband and Philip play like all the shitty Shrek games I could find.
You can't get a hold of all of them.
No.
I used to own like 4 of them. Yeah, they're terrible.
Can't get a hold of them. They're all shovelware. They're all horrible. But I didn't realize how many there were.
There's a lot. Okay, just to put in perspective, when Shrek 2 came out, before Shrek 2 came out, I had already owned a pre-owned copy of Shrek 2's video game, which was like, it was a full-on video game, but anyone who's played a movie-based video game that's very little effort put into it knows what I'm talking about. There's a path, there's a few hidden items, they're not even hidden, they're like behind the start point. It's kind of in perspective, but you don't get to pick where you go. Most of the games were like that, except there were party games. There was like a Mario Party knockoff game. It's terrible. It's terrifying. The heads are way too big. I'm uncomfortable with it. But to be honest with you, it is fun. I've played it. It's not good.
No.
But you know what? No party game is good. And my husband doesn't know how to beat it automatically. So it's fun.
That's why it's fun for you, because every party game that's ever been made, your husband plays.
Yes. So you're sitting there going, how do I wipe the window off in WarioWare? And Brian's like, what are you talking about? He's already done it.
Yeah.
I just want to know what button to push. But anyway, none of the games were very good, but that doesn't matter. No, I take that back. I forgot I owned this game. There was a Game Boy game from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
It was just WWE, but Shrek.
That sounds great, but horrible at the same time.
It was atrocious. I couldn't get past the first, 3 fights. It was there was a random one. One of the characters was the mirror, and he just turned into whatever character you picked.
So it was like a shitty Ditto.
It was like a shitty Ditto. I don't even think you could... Oh, no, you could play as Fiona, but it wasn't Ogre Fiona. It was Princess Fiona, and she just fought, someone, from one of the old Street Fighter games. Yes. No, it was just Street Fighter, but Shrek.
You can't see it, but I'm punching upwards horribly like Mortal Kombat 1.
Yes. No, it was very Mortal Kombat 1-esque, but for the Game Boy. I don't even know if it was a Game Boy Advanced game. It might have just been Game Boy.
Oh, God, yeah, I know. There was just so much crap.
There was so much.
I remember, I think one of my friends had, the Game Boy, the racing game.
Oh, yeah, I forgot there's a racing one.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's
countless. Absolutely countless. And then on top of that, those were just the ones that DreamWorks approved that were Shrek. Shrek has the same problem that Pokemon did, where, Shrek's easy to make a green sprite with weird little tubey ears.
Yep.
So there was a lot of games that I'm not convinced were licensed. They were just in existence, and I played them.
Maybe that's why they're hard to find.
Maybe. The other thing that I have a theory of is I think people held on to the Shrek games because they were so bad.
Yeah.
There's a special place in your heart for a game you played as a kid, and then you go back to touch it, and you're like, wow, this is shit.
I have one that's actually not terrible. My brother played it in high school. It's called Dewey's Adventure. Nestle. Like Nestle water bottles. You play
the chocolate milk Nestle?
Yeah, but they also do water.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
I don't buy a lot of water.
Yeah, I don't either, but in Europe you have to.
Oh yeah, I guess you do. Yeah.
But you're a little dewdrop that's fated to collect the rainbow shards and save the world from pollution.
Sounds like shit.
It's actually fun though.
But I have no room to talk because a game that I go and check on it every once in a while at our local vintage stock here because no one else wants to buy this shit game either. It's for the PlayStation 2 and it was called Hurdy-Gurdy.
I'm aware.
And you play as a little shepherd boy whose father is under a curse, and you have to herd all of the small fake-ish creatures to save your dad. And it's terrible. The graphics are terrible. Like, the camera's terrible. But I played it as a kid, and I liked it.
Yeah.
And so I can't give it up. I think that's what Shrek did to a lot of people. And I think that's why you can't get a hold of Shrek games.
And it's kind of a weird state, too, because how many movies do you know of that spawned, like, not a musically inclined movie at all, spawns a musical. A Broadway musical, not just like a little high school production.
See, that's the thing. This is something that I'm somewhat used to because of my love of anime. Eventually, there will be a musical version of an anime. It's just kind of the standard. That's how it is. Oh, you don't think your anime that you love has a musical from back in the day? Check again.
Bleach, I know, has a musical.
Black Butler has a musical. None of the actors can sing, but they do look great.
Yeah.
So I'm used to it for anime, and I'm used to the musical being absolute shit. It usually has nothing to do with the story, or it's just a complete rehashing of the first movie.
Mm-hmm. Which this one is.
Yeah, it is. But... Oh, hi. But with that said, Shrek's musical does actually add things to the Shrek world, which I'm not used to, and I'm not sure how I feel about.
I wanted to bring up, do you consider it canon?
See, that's the thing. Because I know people went and saw this. Because A, it was on Broadway. And anything on Broadway, people will go see.
They did it at, my parents said they did it at the high school by them once, and it was horrid.
I have no doubt it was. But that's kind of the equivalent of, like, several of the high schools I know did Cat in the Hat, the musical. It's never good, but people gonna do it.
We did Seussical, the musical.
Oh, that one's also pretty atrocious. Like, so, okay, granted, I've seen a good Seussical the musical. I have also seen a lot of bad Seussical the musicals. I've
seen Mike Myers as the Cat in the Hat.
Yeah, let's never talk about that again. Ooh. Bad.
All of this is on Netflix, by the way, because I was scrolling through finding shit movies for social distancing movie night.
Yes. But with that said, I think Shrek the Musical is canon. I granted, do you need to see it to fill in any gaps in Shrek? No, but if you had blaringly obvious questions like Shrek's parents, the musical does address them.
Yeah, even like Fiona as a child, like what was she doing in the tower?
Yeah.
Reading books.
Practicing
kung fu.
Yes. So, is Shrek the Musical good? No.
Oh god, it's atrocious. Whatever version of it's on Netflix, the guy who does Shrek cannot do the Shrek accent.
It's a bad Shrek accent.
Horrible.
Yeah.
The whole thing's horrible. I don't even, like, Donkey's, like, over the top obnoxious.
Yes.
But he's a flamboyant in the way he is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not a good musical.
No.
And the filming that took place of it, that is the one that's widely available to most people, not the best filmed version of it even. I could make the argument that just happened to be A, bad filming, because that does happen. And B, just it didn't translate well into movie form. That happens a lot too.
Yeah.
So I could see how there's a potential out there somewhere in the world is a good Shrek the Musical live on stage. I just haven't witnessed it.
Also, someone show me that.
See, but that's the thing. The second we say that, somewhere in town this summer, Shrek the Musical will probably show up, and it will end up being great. But that's okay. It doesn't have to be good because it's Shrek.
Yeah.
It kind of, honestly, because it's bad, it kind of makes it more Shrekky. Yeah. It makes it more endearing that you managed to get through this terrible film of a musical that was never good.
Makes it more of a Shrek-tical.
It does make it more of a Shrek-tical. But, so with that said, should you watch the little side bits of Shrek?
Well, first off, let's do the first two movies.
Fair.
Or the third and fourth movie.
The third and fourth movie.
The third movie. Would you recommend it?
No. And that's coming from someone who loves shitty animated children's films. You can skip Shrek the Third. It's not that great.
No, it's not. It doesn't add much to it.
It doesn't.
It exists.
However, with that said, if you are, like many of us, stuck at home and have nothing better to do and need to put on multiple children's films for some reason, you're not going to hate yourself for watching it.
No.
You're not going to, like, try and claw your eyes out, which I mean, I've seen films like that. So it's not something to avoid if you are stuck inside and forced to watch it.
It's not Jack the Giant Killer.
Oh, I'm so sorry I made you watch that.
Oh, don't be. I'm glad I watched it. It was bad.
It's the worst film. And this is from a lot of really bad films. Worst film I've ever seen, hands down. By, like, a long shot.
Evil Weed is mine.
Oh, I haven't gotten to that one.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
Um,
But, so, if you are desperate for things to watch and you're running out, yeah, sure, Shrek the Third. But
yeah.
Normally, no, I would not say go watch it.
No, I don't recommend unless for some reason you're having like a Shrek marathon and just
Oh, no, if you're having a
it.
Shrek marathon, you have to watch
Yeah.
it. Yeah, no, that's required.
But just as a standalone, don't
Yeah.
worry. It's just listen to us. We explain the entire plot in
Yeah,
less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything. Now, Shrek the Fourth.
That is a tough one. I would say if you really like Shrek, give it a go. Or if you like the first two Shrek movies,
Yeah.
give it a go because it is actually entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
It's different enough from all the other ones that it's...
Yeah, it's got its own plot going on and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit on the fence on it, honestly, because I can't in full conscious say watch it like the first two.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But I mean, it's not a bad movie if you are curious about it. And if you skipped it because of how bad Shrek 3 was. Because I didn't see Shrek 4 until we started doing this.
Yeah, no, if you skip Shrek 4 because of Shrek 3, you should have skipped Shrek 3 and watched Shrek 4.
Yeah.
For sure. I would say if you liked Shrek 1 for its original messages and tales that it taught, which I know a lot of, especially adults our age, that was something that they still hold on to with Shrek.
Mm-hmm.
Shrek 4 falls into that same sort of line of thought and feeling. So I could see how, if, to some people, Shrek 4 would be the second best Shrek.
Mm-hmm.
Is it for me? No.
No.
But it's close for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
I like their portrayal of love. I like the bad guy. Arguably more than Fairy Godmother. And maybe not quite as much as Farquaad in sometimes, but other times much more than Farquaad.
He's more evil than Farquaad, I would say.
For sure. There are parts of it that I like less than the first two. So it's kind of tying the second one for me.
Mm-hmm.
I could see myself flipping back and forth because the second one doesn't address some of the issues the fourth one does, and vice versa, and that's kind of why I'm on the fence of it.
Yeah.
Should you see it? Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's a fun movie. I think if you like the first Shrek, you'll probably like the fourth Shrek.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now all the extra tidbits.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I have a confession.
Okay.
And you know this, but I watch stupid children's shorts at every holiday possible.
You don't say.
Yeah. So some people like watching specific movies around the holidays. I like watching animated shorts. I like watching the old Bugs Bunny shorts. I like watching the old Disney shorts. They're usually all on Netflix. They're all like under 20 minutes, and I just binge them all. So I have been watching Shrek the Halls and the Shrek Halloween specials for many years now. Mm-hmm. They are part of my holiday routine.
You are a connoisseur.
I am a connoisseur of short, stupid things. With that said, though, if you have kids around the holiday and you need something to entertain them with and they already like Shrek or you like Shrek, yeah, they are fun and they do have adult stuff in them. They're not solely for children like some of these holiday shorts are. They are short. I think they have commercials pre-built into them. So, they are a little weird. However, they're fun. I liked them. I thought they were fun. I could understand, though, if normal people want to skip them.
Yeah, I don't recommend them.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the Thriller Tales where they gank Farquaad.
Yeah, that one's pretty funny.
Or Scared Shrekless, is that one?
I think that one's Scared Shrekless.
Yeah. Maybe give that one, just let it play in the background. You don't need to actually watch it.
I also really like the Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff that they do. It is Nightmare on Elm Street, right?
Trying to remember. They rip off so much in that.
There's specifically one short that Shrek tells about Pinocchio having earworms and bugs in his ear.
Oh, no, it's The Exorcist.
It's The Exorcist.
How can you get those two mixed up?
I'm sorry. It's been a while since Halloween.
I even made the joke when we were watching it that I want Pinocchio to turn around and say, "Your mother sucks cocks in hell."
He does turn around. He does not say that, though.
No, exactly.
However, that's kind of the fun of it. Kids will have no idea what on earth is going on. An adult will get a good kick out of that.
Okay, yeah, I would say...
the Halloween one's stronger than the Christmas one.
The Christmas one has no relation to anything else. It's just Christmas. Yeah.
But the Halloween one, they do rip off a lot of classic horror.
Psycho's one of them that got ripped off.
Yeah, and they do so in such a way that the adults will fully recognize it and appreciate it, and the children will have no idea unless you're one of those people who let your kids watch The Exorcist. In which case, you got bigger problems.
I was not one of those kids. I did get to see Alien early, but not The Exorcist.
Fair, though. I can see why. Because Alien, you could forget about how gory it is. Pretty easy.
No,
like as a parent, I could forget a lot of the scenes from Alien and be like, it's a little spooky, but like you're 8, you can handle it. And then start watching it and be like, oh shit.
My mom fell asleep partway through, and her reaction to... I think it was Blade 2 or Blade 3. If she had been awake, we would have stopped watching Alien pretty
early?
Pretty early, I'd think.
Yeah, I mean, fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
So, anywho, well, actually, we have the musical.
Oh.
Skip the musical.
Yeah, skip the musical.
Don't watch it. It's not worth your time. It was awful.
Unless, like the two of us, you really like punishing yourself for no reason whatsoever, skip the musical.
So bad.
It's real bad. And that's from someone who likes bad musicals.
Yeah. Anywho, this has been The Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
Thanks for listening.
It's all ogre now. I've been waiting to say that this whole time.
I knew it.